Welcome to our very first episode of the Daughters of Destiny podcast. How are you, Stasis?
I am good.
You good?
Yes.
You went to church today?
Yes, I did.
I went to church today too.
Yes.
I had a good word. We were in Jeremiah today.
Okay.
Where were y'all at? You know where y'all was at?
Today was about trusting God.
Wow. It was yeah.
Yeah, and that's what today's subject is about, you guys. It's trusting in God. So
Yes.
yeah, we were in. Oh,
That's
man.
amazing. Wait a minute.
Right.
Wait a minute.
For real.
So today's episode is about building trust in God and the relationship with God. And when C went to church today, that's what her pastor preached on today. I think that's confirmation.
Yeah.
I think that's confirmation of the topic today.
Yeah.
So I have some questions. What did you do to build trust in God? Because it's hard.
Man, it's the process. I'm still building trust.
Okay.
I want to say God is so much. He's so many things. He's a doctor. He's a healer. He's a provider. But I'm going to talk on the subject about providing. Because I just started relinquishing control. Like, you know what? Because back home in Florida, I'm from Florida, I used to be in control. Like, if it wasn't me getting it, it was, if I didn't have it, I would rely on my credit cards. But literally moving up here, listening to the voice of God and moving up here, He has me in a place where I have nothing to do.
Yeah.
No family, no nothing. I have no other choice but to rely on Him. And He's proven He's faithful. He's proven Himself time after time. To where instead of going back, regressing, it makes me just go deeper in reliance in Him. So it was a process. So at first, hearing Him, I'm like, that ain't what, I didn't know it was God. So I didn't have trust enough to know, to trust Him. But yeah, now I trust Him more today than I did years ago when I got saved. Yeah.
So what year did you get saved?
I got saved, man. I think it was a little bit before I had my daughter, maybe 2003, 4-ish.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what? That's like 20, 23, 20, is it? No, 20 years ago.
Yeah.
It's so strange because I always knew God was there, but I didn't trust Him. I don't think I really started trusting Him until maybe about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
Which is crazy.
It makes
because
sense.
You can have full belief in God. You can have full love for God, full understanding of God, and still not trust Him. Still be like, is He gonna do that? Does He keep His promises? Was there even a promise made? Like, you can still kind of like go through those mindsets, and often what I have to do to remind myself, it's way easier now than it was before, but often what I have to do to remind myself to trust Him is a lot of conversations, like a lot of devotional time, because I felt like every time that I built my relationship with Him, the trust was getting stronger and stronger and stronger, but it wasn't always like that. Now, the whole world could be crashing down, and I could be like, it's okay. God got it.
It's true. It's for real, yeah.
Oh, let me tell you a funny story. So I was texting this guy yesterday, and I don't know what we're doing. We're not dating, but I don't know what we're doing. It's just friendly. And he said something to me. He said, I'm 33. He said to me, when is your cutoff time to have a child with your husband? I think the responsible time to cut off of not having children is like 35, 36. Because after that time, our bodies, women's bodies, just certain things you've been through, certain medical things that I've been through, like, I think I shouldn't be having any more children after 35, 36. And then he replied back to me and said, you think you're going to find a husband? And he wasn't saying it in a rude way, but he was saying, you think you're going to find a husband, fall in love, get married, have a baby in the next 3 years?
Expeditiously.
Yes. And I said, God know what He doing. God know what He doing.
That's trust.
That's trust. I was like, He know what He doing. And then he replied back to me like, He sure do. And I was like, it just reminded me, dang, I have come a long way of not panicking. Like, because if a man had said that to me a year and a half ago, I would have been like, oh my gosh, that's so right. I'm going to be single forever and worrying about the outcome. And I was just like, God know what he doing. And I let it go.
You said something earlier about building, when you would build your relationship. At what point did you, where did it start? First of all, where did it start for you? Just to getting to know God. Because I assume you're talking to maybe people that know God, or maybe people that may not know. They may not be to this level. They don't know.
Well, my trust for God or starting to, let me say this. I think that God was trying to show me that I could trust him. But in my naivety and my self-idolization, I could not see it. Right? So upon this year and a half, I started to realize that God was showing me that I could trust him when I was in my broken places, when I was in my lost places, because he kept showing up, but I kept treating it like, oh, the world is just looking out for me. Does that make sense?
Like the universe?
Like the universe is looking out for me, or I did this to make this happen. And then I started to realize, no, this was God giving me an inch to show me you can trust me. This was God giving me 20 inches to show me you can trust me. Like, I'm not going to let you fail. And if you do fail, it's because it's not for you, because it's not of me. Like, it's not of him, So I've learned that I started trusting him in the broken places. My lost places. My hard places. And struggling in life, struggling as a mom, as just a woman of God in general. We have our struggles. So
what came to mind as you were talking was the serenity prayer. And I know it might not be in the Bible, so if it bears me sharing, serenity prayer says, God give me the serenity to,
what is it?
Something about control the things. Pretty much, I'm gonna give y'all a synopsis because I don't know verbatim, but it says, give me the strength to, I don't know if it's strength or it's about control. There's things, it says, grant me the serenity to accept the things that I cannot change, the courage to change the things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Amen.
And when you get to a broken place or a hard place,
you have no control.
And then it's just, that's the time where I find, to answer your question, where I just found now to just get on my knees. I've been here for 2 years, and it's a lot of stuff that's out of my control. I have no family here. I have nobody that I knew to come here. It just was like, God say, do this. I was like, first of all, that's the devil, okay? and it was a whole year before I actually did it. And then I asked God one day, I got just this word from a client. She was like, you know what? She was praying about something, and she asked God a question. I said, you know what? I'm gonna try that. I was in the shower, and I said, God, if this is you talking to me, when should I leave? And he gave me the instructions of when, and I thought it was so profound and wise. He told me to leave spring break. God is just brilliant, because I would have left in the middle of the school year, and it just would have been a mess. But when God instructed me when to move, he said break. That was a word. And he said spring break. He could have been saying break cycles, break whatever. Leave your kindred house and go to a place I'll show you, not end up here. And so the trust has been on and popping. I got here, I still would worry. And it was June 10th. I wrote it down. I said, God, how to stop worrying? Because it'll be a cycle. I'll worry. Then I have plan A, plan B, plan C. And it just was like a cycle of getting nothing done. And I got tired. I said, God, how to stop worrying? He said to me, just as calm as God is a cool cat, y'all. He does not speak to you when you're in chaos. It's when you sit and you come to him. And he said, just make a schedule. And so he said, make a schedule and don't add worry to it. Just that simple. He's like, and then the more came, be so busy that you don't have time to worry.
So do you feel like you struggle or did struggle with a level of control, and that God used control to show you to trust him?
Yes, because I have definitely am used to controlling a lot, and it's like, no, sit down, Sit your little self
To
down.
have several seats.
Right. Sit down and I got this. Right. Let me drive. And I literally been hands down, the serenity prayer, like the things that I can't control, I can control my schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing this with, putting God 1st,
Mm-hmm.
commanding my morning, midday, I go and I pray. I mean, I have not been here, but I learned the further I get into the deep, this is my way of survival.
Mm-hmm.
Pray a lot of times a day, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Even the times, just pray a lot. You have your times of fasting. And then just that, seeing that it works. I learned to serve what serves me. Fasting serves me.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing certain things that I used to do that had me kind of just in chains and bound.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how people party a lot. I mean, I don't knock it, but people party so much, you don't have no energy. I used to eat what I wanted to eat, and it made me lethargic.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a difference. So long story short, I don't want to get off on a tangent.
Mm-hmm.
But the trust I learned to as a parent, we tell our children, like, listen to us because we know best. And God is telling us, as his children, listen to me because I already know.
And see, that's another thing too that you said. Something that I had to learn was that, and it's not necessarily something I had to learn. It's something I've always known, but I didn't start taking it serious until I gained trust in God. Is that God is not a liar. Mm-hmm. So since he's not a liar, if he has said something, if he has ordained something, if you have come into agreement with him, there's no lie there, you know? So knowing that, I was like, okay, he's not a liar, so I can trust him, you know? Like these little things sound so small. These little details sound so like, oh, God's not a liar. He's a gentleman, but they matter in the grand scope of things, because when you start thinking about how he moves and how certain pieces are put together, you start to realize how small that little sentence matters in the grand scope of things.
Do you think there's something that you have to fight for? Like, yeah, we trust God. We're on the top of the trusting God.
Mm-hmm.
By his grace, we are able to do things. But is there a fight? Will you have to fight to keep, like, say for instance, he promised you, let me think of something, a spouse, or he promised you, not
a spouse is a good one.
A spouse. And you don't give us a time frame. We already know we were created to be wives. That's, do you have to fight? I'm trying to think of the way to ask my question.
Like, do we have to experience struggle?
No, like, what are you doing to contend? Say for instance, a promise from God. What are you doing on your end? Like, is there something as a believer that we need to do on our end it's a promise.
See,
it's gonna happen.
I think I don't want to speak for everybody. I just want, like, about this specifically, I can't speak for everybody or every Christian. I can only speak for me, right? And I know the call that God has put on my life. He never promised me anything in return. The call that he has put on me is that I have to fulfill promises for other people.
Okay.
So, but he's never said to me, you're gonna have this, and that made me upset for a long time.
Oh,
because I'm getting vulnerable.
No, come on.
That upset me for a long time, because when you think about Moses, right? God used Moses to fulfill promises for other people. And he didn't promise Moses anything. And then Moses wasn't allowed into the promised land.
Okay.
God took Moses away before they entered the promised land. He told Moses he would not be entering the promised land. I feel like, I don't think this is for all Christians, or even a majority of Christians. I can't say that, but I know for me, God has given me specific instructions, and he has never ever told me that I was going to receive anything. It's a surrendering of allowing him to use me as a vessel with never having the return of anything that I want fleshly.
Okay, and so you say you're speaking for yourself. Okay.
Yes, I'm speaking solely for myself, because
okay,
I know of people that God told them they would have X, Y, and Z, and they have it. You know what I'm saying? But God has never told me that.
Moses was a deliverer, you guys, and you guys may already know Moses is a deliverer. But what her perspective on the story of Moses, and she didn't even have to tell the story, but the full story made me wonder, and I'm sure you probably got the answer for it.
Go ahead, baby.
Moses was commanded to do something. He was told to deliver these people. But in order for him to trust God and even do what he say, like, how?
God didn't promise him anything.
So what made him do it? Like, what made him do it?
His love for God.
He was reluctant. Let's talk about that.
He was reluctant
at first,
but he loved God.
Okay. He's like, I got a stuttering problem. He's like, okay, I got your brother. Yeah, let him speak for you.
He loved God. That's what did it for him.
Okay.
But he didn't promise Moses anything. Moses did it off of this. The beauty of the story of Moses is that Moses did it off the strength of his love for God, knowing that there's a great possibility he would never receive anything in return. Moses was used as a vessel to fulfill the promises for other people without being promised anything.
Okay. Because he came to him in a burning bush. Was there any way out? Like, the Bible talks about him giving him excuses. I can't talk. He didn't feel adequate enough. And that's a whole nother topic for a whole nother day. But like, there was no out for him.
There was no.
It's just, you go do this and this is what you're going to do. There was a moment in that, in the beginning with Moses, where God worked on his trust. He didn't work on it. He gave him a staff. Do this, and he showed him. So that's how God got him to trust him.
But that's not trust for Moses individually. That was trust
to get the job done.
To get the job done and get the people. But individually, like, he never said to Moses, you do this and I'm going to make you a king. He never said to Moses, you do this and I'm going to leave you with a 10-bedroom house, a car, you know what I'm saying?
So what comes to mind is that our life is not our own.
No,
we don't serve because of benefits. Now, the benefit package come with it. God protects us. He covers us. He promises to provide for us. In Matthew 26, I think, says that. Don't worry about what you're going to eat, what you're going to wear. He's going to take care of us. Yeah. So there is a benefit packet, but we don't do what we do.
Yeah.
Because of it. We understand that our life is not our own.
Yeah.
And I think,
absolutely,
like you said, the love for God.
I think, so when I read the stories of the Bible, I'm not just reading like the surface level of what is happening, right? I know that God talks in parables. So I'm reading the parable of like the behind the scenes of a story, right? So the surface level of the story of Moses is the people needed to be delivered. The people were being enslaved. They were suffering. Moses needed to move them from one place to the other and bring them to a land where they could prosper. But the parable of Moses is that he used Moses as an example of that your love for me mixed with my trust will carry and deliver. I may be looking at a story for weeks on end because I'm reading the story surface level and then I'm going back and reading the story parable. God talks in parables. Yeah. God has always talked in parables. Jesus has always talked in parables. It has never changed.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a good thing you brought up Moses. And I'm like, Moses did that.
Out of love for God.
Yeah. And he had to trust him to get it done. And
God had to trust him.
Verse 3 and 5 through 6 says, trust in the Lord and lean with all your heart, lean unto your own understanding. In all your ways, submit to him, and he will make your path straight. Trust in the Lord with all your heart.
I would like to end this with saying something that I am going to do going further to build my trust in God, to not speak before he has done the thing that he told me will be done. What you gonna do?
God, I'm not perfect, Patty. I'm trying to think. Is there
a perfect Patty?
Like, yeah, is there? I'm trying to think. Like, okay. So, what could I work on? this is a prayer. Instead of saying what I'm gonna, I want to say, God, is there any area in my life that I have not relinquished control? Reveal it to me and help me to, because I can't think off the top of my head, but just, is there anything that I don't trust? Is there any area that I have not trust? It is. Something just came to mind. That's why I was just like, so,
flashbacks be real.
Right. I'll be transparent since God is on the topic. Oh God. Okay. So God had told me instructions to do something. And in my mind, our infinite mind, Proverbs 3 and 5 is what we're standing on, because in our mind, we may think, God, how I'm going to only work 2 days a week at this skill that I've had. This skill that I've had almost my whole life. Yeah. God had showed me this skill and I've been relying on it to eat. And you tell me, God, to lay this gift. Oh my, it makes me think of when Abraham he was sent to do something to his son, kill his son.
Sacrifice son.
Wants me to lay this gift on the altar. So God had told me, to do this today. I still have not. I actually negotiated with God, and I'm probably wrong. I say, well, God, let me do 3 days. Because in my mind, I'm like, how I'm going to make what I need to make. But this is where we mess up. So that is the area. As I just prayed, that's what I heard. That was one of the things that God had told me to do. And it doesn't make sense to me, but does it ever?
Yeah.
Does what God tell us to do ever make sense? But we just have to trust him. So that's the area that I have not fully, but I'm open to it. Like I see, don't do what if God tell you to do something, have radical obedience. Don't, half obedience is the same.
They say they say obedience is better
than sacrifice.
Yeah,
right.
The obedience is better than sacrifice.
Right. And so I get it.
Because, like, I'm glad you used the analogy when Abraham brought his son to be sacrificed, and God is telling you that you need to lay down this on the altar. That reminds me of something that I heard the other day. A young lady said, she was just speaking in the context of us laying our burdens to God. Mm-hmm. She was like, if you're not bringing something to the altar, that means you bringing yourself. Altar call is coming regardless. Mm-hmm. So if you're not bringing something to the altar,
like laying it down,
that means you're bringing yourself. Because if you're not bringing nothing, you coming empty-handed, that means you're bringing yourself. Okay, guys, so we are going to end today's podcast here. We would love down below for you all to put your trust stories or trust scenarios down below on how you all navigate and trust God. See, you got anything to say for us?
If there's anything that we didn't get to touch on, if there's anything that you want to hear from us about our trust, our trust walk, or anything we hadn't added, please feel free to leave it in the comments below.
Yes, amen. All right. See y'all next time.
Thank you for watching Daughters of Destiny podcast. We are on a mission to share our faith with families around the globe. Keep joining us these upcoming weeks as we discuss the importance of family unity, healing broken mindset, encouraging women and men to stand in their righteous places, and simply just share our lives as believers in the body of Christ.
Trials, testimonies, lessons, and chains will be broken here. With God's grace, we hope to be your chosen podcast and to continue being a blessing to the kingdom. Blessings. Shalom, shalom, family.